Hello my friends and welcome to Japan. I am on the Murata booth ready to show you some of the best technology on the planet. To my left, I have some good looking young men, Yosuke-san, Itamuto-san, and Saburo-san. Today they're just smiling for us and maybe be honored to say thank you for allowing us to come to your booth and share your technology. Saburo-san, I will see you at the end, my friend. So if you'll follow me, we want to talk about technology. I believe Jeff is actually waiting for us. Jeff, how are we doing, my friend?
I'm doing great, Tony. It's great to see you here in Japan.
Always a pleasure. So I thank you again to all of those amazing Japanese people allowing us to be on the booth. Jeff, you and I are going to talk technology. The technology in everything that I've learned about you guys. The first thing is that automation is in your DNA. But every time I see you, there's a new set of automation being introduced, and it's the next step forward and the next step forward, constantly innovating in a way that really pays attention to being able to do more with less humans through nights and weekends. And I think all of the machines we're gonna see today between you and Ken, we're gonna talk about that type of technology, right?
Quite a bit, and that's the key. You know, you mentioned about the evolution. I call it the evolution of technology. You know, when you spent some time with us in June in Charlotte, that was the 50th anniversary of Murata Machinery USA and automation for the past 50 years. So what you're gonna see here today and what we're gonna talk about is exactly that, is the continuing evolution of how do we do more with less.
Yeah, well,
And
as handsome as you are and as average as I am, the audience loves to see technology. So let's invite you guys in to take a look at this machine. Jeff, when I'm looking at this, I already see some gantry loading. I see at least op 10 and 20, maybe multiple parts. But what I'm seeing unique here, if we look a little bit to the left, is this area here that looks like you're actually being able to take carts out and switch them based on finished products.
Absolutely, and we, again, talking about automation, how do you do more with less people and less operators? You know, this is the way to provide more parts to the machine, unmanned. Like you mentioned, we do have that. This is an MD120 machine, so it's a live tooling operation doing a process of op 10 and op 20. But it's not so much just about the machine, it's about keeping the machine running, keep the machine going unattended for hours and hours at a time. So what we have here is an automated tray changer system, as well as an automated gantry picking system and automated tray loading system to feed parts. So an operator would wheel in a cart of raw material underneath. Eventually the picking device on the end of the gantry arm would come over and change tools and actually come down and pick up an entire tote and then bring it back and set on top, and then it would change back to the 2-jaw gripper where it would be placing parts for the standard gantry on the machine.
Jeff, did I hear you correctly, actually changing jaws?
Changing entire chuck.
Entire chucks, we're changing entire chucks on this. Oh my gosh, so we have trays, we're changing chucks. We have, if we slide a little bit over here as well, and I might be fast forwarding through this conversation a little bit, Jeff. It looks like there actually is parts being blown. What's happening in this area? Are they being blown off, cleaned?
Yeah, so part of the key of what we do and what we provide is a complete automated solution. So the gantry, we want to utilize that for as much as we can during the process. So we incorporate, in this case, a very simple blow-off device that once the part comes out, it gets turned around, that chuck up on top, the part turns over from op 10 to op 20, and then we'd take a finished part over there and blow it off to clean off some coolant before it drops it off as a finished part.
Jeff, something I'm noticing that when I think about automation in a lot of this world, and I think about automation in manufacturing, is a lot of these processes that I'm seeing happening simultaneously right here are possible, but usually in individual goes, right? You'll take one part, then you take it and you blow it, then you take it off and you maybe put it into measuring or put it into your crate,
right?
All in sequence, one after another, which even though it is automated, even though it can run through nights and weekends, you're combining them here. So while it might take 3 minutes to do that same operation on another machine, here it's going to take that 1 minute because it's all happening at the same time.
They're all happening at the same time. They're all happening automatically. Again, the focus of Murata Machinery and the products that we design is how do we keep those spindles turning? You're not making money if those spindles aren't turning. So everything that we can do to optimize all of the automation to make sure that the non-cutting time is as little as possible.
And the world already knows you guys for the fast gantries. I mean, you have fastest in the world. It's incredible how you're able to do that. When I'm looking here, I'm gonna play that Captain Obvious role because I don't like to overspeak to some of the audience. I want everyone to know exactly what's going on. When I see these turrets in here, and we say op 10 and op 20, so obviously 2 operations. It could be front and back. It could be separate operations based on how much tooling you have here.
It could be 2 of the same operation.
Could be 2 of the same operation if you want to get more parts out the door. So my Captain Obvious question is, live tooling in here as well?
Yeah, this machine, so this is our MD machine, which does incorporate live tooling in every turret station. So 2 10-station turrets, both with live tooling on every station.
Where would you say, before we step over to this next piece of technology, that this machine really stands out? Because you and I are obviously speaking English right now. In fact, it's the only language I know, and I barely know that one, although we're in Japan, showing the birthplace of where these machines are. When we're talking to the Western world, where do you think this machine stands out as we bring it all the way across the ocean?
Again, I think it's the extremely optimized efficiency of the automation to get as many parts, good parts, at the end of the day as we can.
May I ask you, is this setup here that we started the conversation off with, is this somewhat new?
So this was developed and recently, and this is the first time we're showing it here at
So this
JIMTOF.
is the first time. Why didn't we start with that? We should have started with that.
Guess we should have started with that.
I guess that's why I asked the question, because I hadn't really seen it before.
Yeah. So we've done similar tray changing systems, but I guess what's new is the automated picking loader. So this is where we're incorporating the standard gantry system and utilizing that as much as we can, but now incorporating the auto change tool to be able to pick up the entire tote while also moving parts.
So you mentioned earlier, and it kind of blew my mind, about changing chucks as well. And I don't want to just skip over that because I feel like that's an important process to talk about. In your opinion, when we're changing chucks, what does that overall bring to the process of someone who's trying to run autonomously through nights and weekends?
So being able to automatically change chucks, I mean, you said it best, it allows you to run autonomously for as long as you need, or as long as you can make that setup. Maybe having multiple parts and being able to change back and forth between multiple parts on a weekend, where at the end of Friday you set it up to run X number of parts and you come in Monday morning and you got 2 carts full of finished parts. Maybe that's an extra 5 or 10% production on the week, almost for free.
I like that almost for free part.
So
would I be able to set this up on a night or a weekend to run 2 or 3 different jobs based on my ability to switch out chucks? Or would it have to be one job through the weekend and then?
So it could be, again, it depends on how you set it up. And when we walk to this machine over here, you'll see where we have some automated chuck changing to be able to run, in this case, just 2 different parts. But it could be developed for 3 or 4 or 5 or many.
So am I correct in thinking that although I know you guys to be dominant. Dominant is the correct word in this sentence. In the automotive world, this is a very potentially more high mix, low volume situation because you can switch out those chucks?
Absolutely, and that's what we'll see on the next machine. Really focusing on that high mix, lower volume.
I'm starting to get the feeling you want to go look at that next machine.
If you're ready.
I'm ready. Are you guys ready? Let's go look at that next machine. All right, as we head over here, what I'm noticing is that your booth is packed with people. That's definitely a good thing.
Yeah, we'll have to squeeze our way through here.
Yeah, this is the fun part, right? Is being able to see the technology. Normally what's great for me is when they see a camera and microphones, everyone scatters. I don't know what it is about a camera. Yeah, don't run away from me, Jeff, not just yet. All right, we've been kind of segue into this machine and the flexibility of higher mix and lower volumes. We've mentioned chuck changing, and we can see it here, right? Where do we take a look to see what you're talking about?
So absolutely. So this is the MSR 60. So this machine was introduced at IMTS a few months ago, brand new.
Happy to be there with you, by the way.
You may have seen that.
Yes.
And here we are incorporating an automated tray feeder system for loading and unloading of material. But also we're incorporating on this side not only changing of the gantry chuck to the different parts, but we're also changing out the main chuck jaws on the spindle for cutting automatically.
Well, Jeff, I have to ask an immediate question about that changeover. And I know what your answer is going to be, but I have to ask it because I've had problems before. And the problem I've had when I'm switching over a chuck like what we see here is an imbalance of something that's going at 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 RPM, and that vibration or my parts not being good. When we're talking about automated changeover, how accurate is it? How quick is it to switch that over?
So I think that's part of the key for automation is being more accurate, being more repeatable. So in this case, now you rely on not a person to decide where the jaw needs to be installed, but the gantry that is repeatable over and over and over can install that chuck jaw in the right place every time.
Yeah, I've been into places and I've had conversations with people about automation, just automation as a general rule, being able to run through nights and weekends, and we all want to do it. We talk, it's one of the buzzwords, it's a keyword, it's a hashtag people are using all the time, is automation. But what happens when people are fresh into automation is they don't quite realize the details that go into making sure that when you leave for the night or when you leave for the weekend, that when you come back, those parts are actually good, or that all your tools aren't broken. And then you've now wasted that entire time, wasted expensive material and wasted expensive tooling. So having that precision and that reliability is, I mean,
absolutely,
obviously important.
Very important. You know, in this particular system, we're also showcasing a in-process gauge. So talking about possibly breaking a tool or making a part out of spec, that's something we can catch. So we're not going to run an entire weekend's worth of parts that are not good.
Something else I like to say, Jeff, when we talk about automation, and we focus in on that because you guys are so good at it. It's in your DNA, the automation. We've said that before. And what I want to bring up is that there's a lot of competition in the world of manufacturing. Maybe there's not an apple-to-apple perfect mimicked mirror of each other, but there's a lot of similarities, right? And anyone can consider, I want to do something. But at the end of the day, being able to have either customization, service and support, reliability, the necessities to be showing how to get something done, especially when someone's new to automation, like what happens a lot in the US. We're in Japan, they got automation everywhere. Yep. But in the US, I think almost...
Here you can see chuck jaws being changed.
Oh, let's take a look. Let's take a look. Now is the perfect time to interrupt me.
Sorry to interrupt.
I'm very happy you did, because that's the entire thing we wanted to show, right? So we can keep going as we see those chuck jaws being changed. Just how important it is to have that partner that's reliable, Jeff. I mean, honestly, I can run out and buy a machine today. I can take a bunch of pieces from here and here and set up an automated cell, and I'm gonna fight with it, and that automated is not gonna actually be automated, because at the end of the day, I still gotta check every single part that comes off. I'm still making secondary cuts, secondary operations. Maybe I gotta go through a cleaning process to go along with it. It's situations like this and companies like Muratec that truly allow us to succeed and make money at the end.
And that's our expertise. You know, we've been doing automation for 50 plus years, and that's the expertise that we can bring to a customer that doesn't necessarily know automation, or maybe they don't know automation to this level. We know the little tweaks and the little needs. For example, here, before we loaded that chuck jaw, we blew it off first. So that's something that you think when you're doing it manually, that's something you would do, right? You pick up your air gun, you blow it off, you wipe it off. When you go to an automated standpoint and try to do that automatically, you need to keep those things in mind, and those are just the little things that we can incorporate.
How's that quote go? Devil's in the details?
Devil's in the details.
Well, you guys,
for sure,
because you've been doing it so long, I can imagine how many times maybe that blower wasn't there, and you go, you know what we need?
Yep.
We need to make that right.
Absolutely.
All right, Jeff. Well, I appreciate your time today. I believe Ken's waiting for me right over
there
here.
waiting.
But you have been my hero today, and I appreciate it. All right, Ken, it's good to see you, my friend.
Konnichiwa, sir.
Konnichiwa. We
are
are
ya?
speaking, the only Japanese I know is kanpai, which means cheers for those of you who don't know, and a little bit of arigato, which I think means thank you.
Yes, absolutely. And konnichiwa and thank you as well.
Absolutely. So far, Jeff and I went through a couple of machines. One that had some pallets, for the lack of better term, but pallets over there that was newly released for the first time, right?
Correct.
This is a new situation.
Correct.
Then we went over jaws being changed and automation here, which I thought was fascinating because I've had imbalance and imperfections. Now we slide over here. I think the theme for today and always with you guys is automation. Automation.
It absolutely
and not just
is.
automation of we need to do it, but we've been doing it for so long that we've perfected means you've done it all perfect. But you continue to perfect. You continue to lead the way. And now we're getting into the world here of turning centers with 2 turrets, 2 spindles, a bar feed, and now we're in automation again.
Right, so we have built a opposing spindle machine for many years. But through the transition of what we're seeing in the market in the last 5, we've had many smaller companies come to us asking for more. More not just in the machine capability itself, but really in the control technology as well. So this is a brand new model for us. This machine will actually be released in the US in April. The control is still doing some development, but very close. But the idea is that not every customer has a need to have all the machining ability inside here, but they can be a little more basic here, but they need some advanced control technology. So what we're showing is the ability, yes, 2 turrets, Y-axis up top, 15 station, 6,000 RPM, but in the controller side, the control has the ability to look in and see how much material's left. If you're going to have a remnant, are they another part that could be made from that remnant based on the tools that's already in the machine? Tool life management. It is the next generation of control technology, and it's through a development with FANUC. This is first time it's ever been seen here at JIMTOF. Almost said IMTS.
Well, we were just there.
Yeah, we were just there.
And now we have JIMTOF. So you kind of answered exactly what I was going to ask you next, Ken, is we do see more or less a setup, you know, a twin turret, twin spindle, you know, we're now not calling it a sub spindle anymore. We're calling it a secondary spindle based on power. But what you said about the software matters to me because you mentioned one part already about being able to have tool management, right? To see how much bar feed is left in there.
Right.
What else do you think is enhanced by having a setup like this that if I didn't have it, I lose on the inside of here, Ken? Because that to me, what you've already described, changes, the importance of how I can run automation through nights and weekends.
So obviously the goal is to keep the spindles turning. And for instance, that just come to my mind, let's say that we have a small alarm that comes in the machine. This new controller has the ability to notify your internal maintenance. If you need to connect with MMUSA, connect with MML to try to get more of an immediate response than it would be to wait if you just a basic service. And a lot of the data and alarm data is stored here versus the old yellow books that we all used to go try to find out. That was one of the first things that come through my mind. But again, this is scheduling software. It can look into your MRP and understand what parts you're going to make next week, week after, and do you already have material in the bar feeder that matches that so you're not pulling material out to put more material in. This is a very forward-looking control system, as well as, again, maintenance needs, setup for tool change, tool indexing, and so forth.
You know, Ken, I thought I was going to come over here during this interview and talk to you about the importance of pinch turning, or being able to do, you know, op 10 and op 20 inside the machine, or being able to have 2 turrets so that I can have flexibility to do multiple jobs inside of one machine instead of having 3 or 4 machines. But you blew my mind talking about the added aspect of the software itself.
Sure, and I don't want to take away from the fact, can we pinch turn? Of course.
You could do all the things.
Yes, but now we're having to take that to a different viewpoint for maybe a slightly smaller customer. You know, a traditional Murata customer may set this machine up and run it for 6 months. So some of this may not be as needed in the control technology side because they're not totally changing out. But now if you have someone changing twice a day, then there's other areas that affect the throughput of the machine, and that's what's being specifically addressed here. specifically address, whether that's setup, tool change, tool index, tool life, many things that's not so common in the current marketplace. I need to be a little cautious, but yeah, there's a lot coming out here very soon, very soon.
Jeff and I spoke about how the machines over here with the automated setup and the ability to switch out jaws and do different kind of parts on the same machine just kind of added to the fact, and I mentioned this over there and I'm going to mention it again, that you guys dominate the automotive world. We all know you there. And you also just mentioned it here about being able to run for 6 weeks or several months on the same job.
Correct, yeah.
But what I'm starting to see is a theme as we go through this booth here in Japan is you're now starting to reach out and touch some of those higher mix companies, those higher mix and low volumes. The bar feed itself, just as an example, isn't 20 feet long.
Correct.
You know what I mean? And this software allows you to understand what's going on. I'm really seeing this diversity with Muratec now.
Well, that is where this, I say evolve. So labor's hard to get, and it started at the larger companies, which was easier to address. But as it filters down to medium-sized shops, smaller size shops, sure, the automation's important, but these same companies are coming to us needing more. They're saying, look, it's not a matter, can I make the part? I know I can make the part. How can I make the other items around it more efficient so I can keep my spindles turning? And that's being addressed basically on every machine you see in this show today.
Yeah, so let's head over to the last machine that we're going to talk about today. But as we head that general direction, there's a lot of folks out there that aren't, they know they need automation, but they kind of need, how do I want to put this without offending anyone, Ken? They kind of need, let's just say help. They kind of need, I think pacifier is a rude word,
but it could, in a way, it could be the right term. I understand.
You know what I'm saying,
Sure.
right? And we want to be coddled a little bit because some of us, look, don't get me wrong, some of us have an ego and we can do anything we want without ever asking a question, and we might get it wrong, and so be it, we're going to do it ourselves.
We're going to do it anyway.
But some people are never going to make that investment unless they have a partner like yourselves who will help them through. And the reason why you and I paused here, as our camera guy went a little bit over to the other machine to show what's coming next, is this section here. Now, I know you can read Japanese, but I cannot. What is this section about?
So this is an area that we set up at shows for consultation. So not just a matter of trying to meet a customer while we're on the show floor, but truly allowing a customer to enter into a quieter section, bring some drawings, some ideas. Really, most of the time we get challenges, so just sitting down and explaining what is difficult for them to either automate or to continue to improve production. What is that? And this group, what you see here, these gentlemen address this at virtually every show we do. So anybody can come in, they bring a part or drawing, we'll specifically sit down and try to help them. And a lot of times it's truly just making them feel comfortable, especially if you have a mid-sized shop owner, he's trying to take his first step into automation. He can see it working, but he does need a little hand over the shoulder, a little bit of a buddy, and that's what these gentlemen are doing here today.
Well, you almost said IMTS earlier.
I
We're
did.
at JIMTOF today, but
Yes.
I'm going to step back to that IMTS comment and just remind people that used to be 2 weeks long.
Correct.
Now, I don't know the history of JIMTOF if it used to be 2 weeks, but what used to happen at IMTS is they would bring in their blueprints. That's why it was 2 weeks long. There was less online and say, can you help me do this?
Yes.
In essence, that's exactly Muratec Active Support, what you guys, it's almost a challenge, right? It's almost
Yes.
and they love a challenge.
Oh, yes.
To say, bring us your part, bring us your prints, let us see if we can do this for you, and I pretty much guarantee we can.
Oh yeah, and they obviously it's part of what we do. We cannot just be a commodity builder and sell the machine and wish someone good luck anymore. Those days have way passed. We have to cradle to grave this customer through quality machines, production, controlling downtime, whether that's with automation or service, and that has to be part of the total package. It can never be one or the other anymore. Those days have gone.
Yeah, well, as we head over to this general area, I want to share one of my headaches with you.
Sure.
And something I know about you guys.
Okay.
One is, when I visited your shop in North Carolina, every machine was built for customer. It was ready to go out the door. And a lot of it was
sold.
custom made.
Correct.
You have those boxes ready to go. I'm going to tell you my headache now. My headache was trying to bid on a job that I knew I could do, but didn't know what my overhead was gonna be, didn't know how long it was gonna be. It was a new part, or maybe I needed to bid on the job and I didn't know how to do it and I didn't know who to reach out to. That type of situation, combined with your machine service and support and the fact that your machines are flexible and customizable, you're really finding a solution for everyone out there.
Yes, we do that globally. So not just in the US, not just in Japan, also in Europe. We will always sit down with a customer in advance of an order and sit down and help them frame out how we can help, and then they would know what their capital input would be and a fixed cost. That is something we've been doing for a very long time. Especially for now, you're seeing the moderate sized shop doesn't understand the process as well. And so this is something they can come to us and we can solidify it for them and really help them move forward and win some work. That's the goal. We want them to win the work.
That's usually what my headache was when I was in a machine shop and I was doing some of that bidding. All right, let's slide over to this last machine here. Now, you're probably gonna tell me all the things I'm gonna get wrong in this introduction, but if I'm looking at this, just quickly, I'm going, wait a second. I'm part loading automated. I'm putting it into my machine. It's prepping for the next part. Then I have my op 10, my op 20. I got my gantry, which I know you guys have the fastest in the world. And then I look on the other side and my part is being measured. So am I going from either raw blank or wherever I choose to put it into the machine all the way to going into a box of a proven finished product?
Yes, that is what we're showing here is bin picking actually two different parts. So there's not one part, but two different parts. Bringing it into an orientation so we know we have the grip correctly prior to going into the automation of the machine. Op 10, op 20, obviously turn around and out to measure. And then if we just wanted to continue to show this, the tray system that you've seen earlier with Jeff, we could actually have a similar tray system on this side and start packing out those parts.
You know, I've talked with you enough, but just in case someone out there was living under a rock and hadn't seen the videos that you and I created before, your systems can often be similar to how we've described it previously as Legos, right?
Correct.
Well, you just described, or we can have the area over after measurement where you put it into a bin and you move it into whatever the next stage might be. It really can be the creative aspect of what does a customer, what does a client need?
Yeah, so the Legos, we've started adapting that term after
Have you
said
really?
it. Oh, yes. But it's important to understand that we're trying to limit the engagement. Meaning that, okay, if we can go ahead and pack out a part, if we can put it into the bin simply to go to the next process, now that is something that a person does not have to do. And seldom does anybody lose work, meaning the person, they just get redeployed to another area, they're used for other things. But this simplifies that process. And as we always make the joke, the automation, you know, it doesn't take a break, it doesn't go to lunch, and it just keeps running. And you know, the other thing with the Legos is we're showing a twin here. Always bring up that we have the ability to put a single spindle in. We need to balance the two operations. So it's not uncommon to get a very big imbalance between the two. So we can Lego in that third spindle and get it right where we want it.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Something I want to bring up based on being into so many machine shops here, Ken. And I think this is going to be somewhat of an obvious statement. I say obvious sometimes because maybe I've seen too much at this point, so maybe it's not obvious, and I don't want to be rude to somebody who hasn't seen it, but you and I have seen a lot. So what I'm about to describe to you, I think is maybe not something that's always considered by someone who's getting ready to implement automation into their shop. So I'm going to tell a story to the audience watching right now, to you, and I know you've seen it before. I see this cobot here. I know a cobot is our collaborative robot. Oftentimes what I see in a cobot situation is its flexibility to go to a main door and load and unload from the main door. The main door itself is sliding open and sliding closed. And that itself means the machine is not working. The machine spindle is not cutting. The reason I bring up stories like this, and I could talk to you for the next 20 minutes about what I see on this machine that I've seen in other places that do not keep the spindle spinning. So I'm gonna quickly go over. What I see here is a cobot running, loading parts, making sure it's oriented to go into the machine while the machine is running, while the pieces up here are prepping for the next stage, while it goes into the probe station over here to make sure it's all measured, and then it can be put into a box on the opposite side. But all of what is happening in this entire process is happening at the same time instead of needing each piece to happen separately. That is automation.
That is automation, and that's what allows the throughput to be continually high, but also continually stable. I think from time to time that we lose sight that you're shooting for so many parts per hour, but you want that to be stable, so consistent. And doing what we're showing here allows those numbers to be consistent day in and day out, not just 2 good days and 2 bad days. This is what allows, and if you also notice, we're standing directly in front of the machine. So if we're loading through the doors, we have safety fences, or we're kind of having to get away a little bit to make space. But in this case, we can utilize all the space in front of the machine.
You know, we started this off introducing some of your Japanese colleagues.
Yes.
We went through a couple of machines with Jeff and a couple of machines with you. And I think we really could stand here and talk for another 20 minutes, because now I want to talk about floor space.
Yes.
We could talk about, because you have a gantry loader and there's nothing taking up but we have to, I'm not sure how long these folks are gonna, as much as they love us, Ken, I'm not sure how much longer they're gonna stick around. But if you wanna know more about Murata and Ken and Jeff and all the folks in the automation and how they can improve your shop, whether it's high mix, low volume, or high volume, low mix, totally up to you, but give these guys a shout. They've been doing this for a long time. And what I wanna do as we bring this conversation full circle to a close is I wanna go back to my friend Saburo. Now, Saburo, I was gonna make the joke earlier, but I'm in Japan and I try not to make too many American jokes here, but I'm gonna do it anyway because he laughed earlier, is that he's delicious like Sapporo. That's how I could remember the name Saburo. But Saburo is our international guy. What I wanna do here, if Jeff, I see him smiling in the background. Can we put the camera over there? He's smiling over there. There we go, there we go. But what I want to do is I want to connect the audience, not just to the American friends that I have, but to the Japanese side as well. So when you make a phone call, when you're making sure that your parts are good, when you have a question about your machine, the service, where it all comes from, the genesis, the birthplace of how it's constructed through years, decades, centuries of work, these are the types of people you get to work with firsthand. So Saburo, any closing messages that you'd like to offer the audience? I know you've been in the US quite a while previously, and you're here in Japan now, but I kind of wanted the world to see who you are.
Okay. So I'm Saburo Fukumori at Murata Machinery. Actually, I've been working at Murata Machinery USA with them for 5 years, and now I oversee overseas sales department. Actually, yeah.
For all over the world, right?
All over the world, basically.
Are you ever stressed out?
No,
You're,
I'm enjoying.
You are a good man. I can appreciate the whole world, guys. Sapporo is a good man. I told you he was a good man. Any closing statements for everyone? We've talked about automation all day, Jeff, Ken. We've seen all of the advancements that can really allow a shop to work, and even a place that says, challenge us with your part, we're gonna make it good for you. So any closing statements for our audience watching right now?
No, I think what you just said is the closing statement. Please challenge us. Please bring us that part. Let us see what we can do with it. A lot of times, between a uniqueness of thought and some maybe experience tied together, we can really help customers make more parts.
Well, thank you for inviting myself, MTDCNC, and the entire world to see your booth here in Japan. It's been such a pleasure. I believe we might even see some sumo wrestlers.
We may see a little sumo wrestlers later. Yes.
That sounds amazing. Thank you all for watching. This is Muratec. This is automation. This is automation improved. We'll see you again soon.